Well, hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Space Cowboy here with another video for you guys here today. Guess what? The Dallas Cowboys actually won a game for the first time in 2 months. Unbelievable. They are 4-7 now. They have gone 4-2 on the road, yet to get a win at home. We'll see if that changes this week for Thanksgiving against the Giants. But they get a win and they don't really change their draft position a whole lot. They go from 9 to 11. The Commanders were 7-4 going into this game, and I'm not really shocked at the outcome. I think it's just more so the fact that we're just going through the motions of the season, and with the Commanders, I think that there was a point where Cliff Kingsbury's offense was going to fall off, which has been a thing that's happened when he was in Arizona, at Texas Tech, and even now here in Washington. So I'm not shocked that they really didn't do much offensively. But looking at what the Cowboys did, we're going to talk about some of the things that we could build off of going into next year. That's really where we're at, is we're in evaluation season, right? We're trying to see, are there guys that can be quality depth moving forward, guys that we need to keep long term, because that's going to factor into the following video that I'm going to do probably after the Giants game, which is going over the free agency list for the Dallas Cowboys in 2025, who they need to bring back, what kind of cap space we're looking at, and what moves can they make. So we'll get into all that down the road. But talking about this game, there was a point when the score was 13-9. It was an ugly game. The Cowboys defense came to play. They only let up the one touchdown at that point in time. But you really look at how the game went. So you had Luke Schoonmaker score the touchdown, 20-9. You had Jaden Daniels lead the Commanders down the field to get the score to within 3. Then after that, Cavante Turpin basically saves the game in hindsight because he has the kickoff return for a touchdown, which was impressive to say the least. And then you had the miracle touchdown happen with the Commanders, where they, for some reason, this just coverage breakdown between Jordan Lewis and Butler, and then you had McLaurin just basically run the whole field all the way down. And it was embarrassing. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, oh my God, this would be the funniest thing to happen, just because I'm at a point where, like, it's cool you want to see the team win, but, like, at the same time, long term, it's better to get a higher draft pick. Just be transparent with you guys. But they did manage to pull off this win. I will say Wanye should not have scored the touchdown. He should have just gone down. The game would have been over, but hey, it is what it is. And, I mean, with them missing that extra point, yeah, I mean, you couldn't make this up. So I do want to get into the stats of this game because I was surprised, to say the least. Looking at the Cowboys offense, 24 for 32 from Cooper Rush, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was only sacked 1 time. You go to the running end of things, 28 carries, 91 yards, and really it was Rico Dowdle leading the way with the 19 carries and 86 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry. No touchdowns. His longest run was a 9-yard run. Then you go to the receiving game, and then you look at how we did. You had the Jalen Brooks 41-yard catch. That was your longest of the day. CeeDee Lamb had 12 targets. He caught 10 of those, 67 yards, no touchdowns. He's approaching 1,000 yards on the season. He probably will get there by the end of the season. Luke Schoonmaker had himself a solid day, 3 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. And let's see here, nothing really else outside of that. You know, you have a couple playmakers here and there. And then, of course, shout out to Jalen Tolbert for the other touchdown reception. So there's that. Then looking at the defense, you know, the Cowboys had, I believe, Eric Kendricks had the 1 fumble recovery. You had Rico Dowdle fumble. You had Cooper Rush recover his own fumble. And then you had Zeke recover a fumble as well. Going to the defensive side of things, Josh Butler had himself a game, man. 10 solo tackles, a sack. Michael Parsons had 2 sacks. And then DeMarvion Overshown also had another sack on this game. So you had a total of 4 sacks in this game generated. That's fantastic. You had 5 tackles for loss, which is pretty nice. And then you had 2 interceptions. The first was from Chauncey Goldstein, and then the other from Israel Mukuamu, which was at the very end of the game. So it is what it is. But good job to get some turnovers, guys. Brandon Aubrey had a awkward game. He went 2 for 4. He had the blocked one and then he missed. So it was a bit peculiar of what was going on. Cowboys punted 6 times. And then we'll quickly go through the Washington Commanders stats. Jaden Daniels was, of course, we know he was sacked 4 times. He went 25 for 38. They actually ran for 145 yards, mainly because of Jaden Daniels running around. But if you look at the running back room for the Commanders, I mean, their leading rushers had 22 yards respectfully, so you did a good job of containing that. Um, Aside from that, I mean, Noah Brown was pretty much leading the way with 71 yards, 6 receptions until Terry McLaurin's 86-yard touchdown. It is what it is. And then just looking at that, you did had Deron Payne get the lone sack for them, and they had 6 tackles for loss. So that's pretty much your statistics right there. I don't really have much to go at that point. And then we have the Cowboys. Of course, we know they're playing the Giants, I believe, on Thanksgiving. So as I mentioned before, that's something that we're going to keep an eye out on to see if they get their first win of the season. Because they have not won this year at home, and they're the only professional sports team in all of North American sports not to have a win at home. So it is what it is. The Cowboys moved down 2 spots in the draft. But going over some of the positives in this game and just move on to some of the things that they need to work on, of course. Things that we could take away with good notes are that your offensive line, which was pretty much all backups, aside from Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe and Terrence Steele. I really liked what I saw from those guys. I think Brock Hoffman has made a case that he can be your guard of the future, and if Zach Martin retires. But I think that Brock Hoffman needs to see the field more. He did pretty well. Then looking at the running backs, I think Rico Dotto had himself a very dirty yards type of game, which is sometimes what happens in these games when they're like low scoring and you need to generate something offensively, so that was good. I really like to see the effort from CeeDee Lamb and some of these other guys. I thought that was impressive, and Cooper Rush did a good job of not turning the ball over. Really felt like when he won in those other games in 2022 that he was able to, score, and he was able to make sure that the ball didn't get turned over and pretty much let everything else happen. But good job on that front. And then going over to Luke Schoonmaker, again, these are the types of things that we've been wanting to see from him. And so maybe he's finally starting to get something going. Hopefully, again, we're just trying to hopefully put stuff together so that we have something to look forward to for some of these younger guys, because that's really all we could hope for. Defensively, I really liked what I saw from Josh Butler. I think that he has a possible future on this team as a backup in the cornerback room. And then looking at, DeMarvin Overshawn doing his thing, Micah Parsons doing his thing, Osa and those guys doing their thing. Like, they did pretty well, again, given the circumstances. But talking about some of the things that they need to work on is I just don't know what they were thinking defensively, and not to take away with what Terry McLaurin did, but like the breakdown in coverage at that point in time, and then also on special teams, like the fact that, again, I'm not even talking about the Brendan Aubrey thing, like you got to know better. Like Wanye, it's cool to score a touchdown, but bro, just go down, the game's over, because you don't know what can happen, as we saw on literally the last drive. And then it's just the situational stuff that they need to work on. I think that that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to say other than, look, they're 4-7. We're gonna have a Thanksgiving game. We'll see if they win again. But I did want to mention, did I think they were gonna go 3-14 and look like they were? But it's the NFL. Anything can happen. I think that for the Cowboys, their best thing that they can do is just position themselves in the top 10 and then just go from there. I think they'll probably go after Genty out of Boise State probably, but we just kind of had to prepare for how the season goes, and so they just need to let these young guys go out there and continue to develop. But they snap a 5-game losing streak. That's great. And again, for Team Tank, I know that there's arguments of, no, the team should win. We should root for wins. It's like we want to see them do well, but at the same time, we also have to come to the realization that there is no benefit to win games when your team is not in contention to win a championship. That's just how it is in the logistical standpoint of how the NFL operates, right? Like you need to get that draft capital, especially when you're not going to be good. So the other thing too is that it didn't really look like any of these other teams really moved the needle. So we were kind of hoping that, had the Cowboys won, that maybe some of these other teams, just so that they're in the same contention. But I think they'll still end with probably top 10 pick. So that's kind of what we're on track to do. So we will see the Thanksgiving game. And again, I would say start doing your research on these free agents because we don't know who they're going to bring back, so we can start having conversations of, guys you want to keep an eye out for retirement and all the other stuff. We'll talk about that, I want to say, after we see the results of the Thanksgiving game. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys later. All right, guys. Have a good one. Goodbye.